So I went ahead and I bought a Woodmizer LT15 portable sawmill. Now I've got to unpack it, assemble it, and install it on site. So I better get some overalls and get down to work. Let's get cracking. Okay, let's unbox this portable sawmill. I've even got a matching box cutter. It's kind of exciting when you're unboxing something. It's a bit like Christmas or a birthday or something like that. Well, it should be. The amount of money these things cost, you've got to get some enjoyment out of it. I have to say though that the build quality is really good. It's really industrial style. It's got a Kohler engine, 19 horsepower, 674 cc. That will last for years. Now our biggest problem here is going to be taking it apart. Because really what you need is lifting gear. You need a bobcat loader or a crane or something like that, because the actual cutting head itself weighs something like 800 pounds. So I'm not going to be able to lift it off, right? I didn't want to have to buy lifting gear. I'm spending enough money already as it is. I'll be doing things in an unorthodox way because I don't have a forklift. I don't have a crane. I don't have any lifting gear. I don't have a tractor. I don't want to buy one. I'm already spending too much money. Eventually it might be unavoidable. I'll have to get some lifting equipment. There we can see the 19 horsepower Kohler engine. Command Pro. Engine made in USA. I have to say, I'm impressed with the stuff made in the States. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a block and tackle on a rope strung from the trees. In general then, I have this tendency to do things in a bit of a crazy way. But that's just the way I am. And I'm trying to save money, right? So the first thing we need to do is lift the cutting head assembly off the top. If you can get it above the tracks, it's about 1 meter or so. And then we can put it down over there and start assembling the sawmill. Okay. So something you should be aware of, there's a retaining pin here on the right hand side of the power head, and that's to stop it moving during shipping. So what you can do is you can remove that, and you might want to do that if, for example, you're having difficulty getting at the bolts on the bottom. Take the retaining pin out, and then the head will move up and down. And on the left hand side, or the side the battery's on, then you've got a handle for raising and lowering the cutting head. If you raise it, as you can see, it's going to be easier for you to get under there and undo the bolts that are holding down the legs. And then when you're ready to crane it up, then lower it back down to get the center of gravity as low as possible. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of the packing screw that holds the cutting head down to the pallet. But we're going to leave these feet on for now, because we want something for the cutting head to stand on when we stick it on the ground. remove this one on this side and the 2 brackets from the other side, and then we're going to try to lift the head out. And then you can just remove the packing bracket, we don't need those. So I'm going to take the water tank off before I lift it. The crane seems to take the weight of the cutting head effortlessly, really easy. One thing you need to make sure is that it's properly balanced. So if it's not balancing correctly, if it's falling to one side, it's best to let it down and readjust it. I'll just move it over a little bit. Definitely heavier on the crank handle side. Okay, now we're clear of the tracks, and we're going to pull the tracks out of the way and let the head back down. So now it looks like the cutting head is clear. Means we can let it down onto the back of the trailer again, and then we can set up the tracks. So as you can see here, we've got 2 guidelines, kind of stays, going from the top of the gin pole, and then they're anchored onto or fastened onto a couple of trees at the back. Always make sure your toes are clear. I've got steel toe cap shoes on, but you wouldn't want to drop this on your foot. So when you got the weight balancing on one leg or two, then it all becomes very light and you can maneuver it into place quite easily. There she's down, safe and sound. You can see why we left the white shipping bracket on the front. That's to give it something to stand on. So I'm really pleased with that. I think that gin pole worked really well. And if you want to see how I built the gin pole, then watch this video. There I do a complete build from start to finish, along with the installation. So now what we need to do is, we need to put the tracks on top of the foundation stones, the footings that I made the other day. Now normally this is done very easily with 2 people, but I'm here on my own. So I'm going to use the overhead crane again. That gin pole did exactly what it's supposed to, and it was way over-engineered. You could take 2 or 3 times the weight of this. Now there isn't a great likelihood that the feet of the gin pole are going to kick out, because as the weight goes on the frame, and they dig into the ground. But I've put some rebar into the ground and a piece of 6x2 just to hold it, to stop it from coming out the back. And before we lift these tracks, I think it's a good time for us to remove the gas tank. This one says 7/16. The other ones were 1/2 inch. And then remove the gas tank and set it aside. Now these log clamps are in the shipping position. So what you need to do is you need to take them off and turn them around. And put them in the operating position. So they're only like this for shipping. We need to remove these 3/4 inch bolts. And you only need to remove one end. Take the bolt out, and then you're taking the clamp arm, just flipping it over the other way around, put the spacer in, replace the bolt, and then you're going to stick the nylock back on the back of it. And be careful, because when you undo these, then it's going to want to drop down. Drop down an inch or so. That would hurt quite a lot. Now this is a block and tackle from Amazon, and it's not very good. I mean, it's strong enough for the job. To start off with, the first thing you should do if you get this is change the rope. It's slippery as anything. As I said, it looks safe enough. It's just a bit cheapo. All right. So I've taken the weight off. Now I want to get this bracket out of the way. One thing you should know is these videos are made for entertainment purposes only, and you should by no means try to copy or emulate anything I do. Heavy lifting is dangerous, and you could even lose your life. The same goes for chainsaws and just about everything I do. So enjoy the videos, but don't try this at home. Remove packing screws for the final piece. I think this last one, I'm just going to take it down by hand. But of course they recommend you use 2 people to do it. I think you should. A lot easier, 2 people. A couple of minutes. I think if you had a sore back, you wouldn't want to lift one of these on your own. But I'm pretty sure I can do it without hurting myself. It's definitely a lot less effort using the lifting gear. Just support this end so it doesn't go crashing down. Now the next thing we need to do is to put the feet on and bolt the whole thing together. One thing I noticed is that when you turn these clamps upside down, then the turning handle's on the wrong side. The only way I can imagine to fix that is to undo it, flip it around and put it in the other way. I noticed that that's what they did on the installation video. They put them and then they were facing the wrong way and they didn't mention it. Well, now we got all the feet on. The next thing to do is check and make sure that everything is level. You can put a string line along the top of the track, and then you can see that the tracks are more or less in a straight line. And then put a level on the crossbars, or use a spirit level, and take a wrench to the adjustable feet and make sure the weight is evenly distributed all along the track. So now that the rails are lined up, you need to tie them together. So you've got a long bolt and a nylock nut. And be careful because there's a hole here, and the nylock can actually drop into the center of the frame. And I learned the hard way. So there's one bolt on the inside and the outside of each track, so you've got 8 in total. And once you've bolted 2 track sections together, then you can put on the main track coupler. Now what I want to do is lift the cutting head onto the tracks. How am I going to do that? Well, the head is on. I can't tell you how satisfying that is. Now there's just a few little jobs to do, like putting on the track wipers and the rollers for the backstops, and I'll be ready to make my first cut on the LT15 Woodmizer portable sawmill. You know what? I'm really looking forward to it. Now it's time to take off this leg from the shipping plate. Keep the same bolts and use them to reinstall. You need to put some washers in the back, spacers. So that's about all the time I've got today. So until next time, and see you later.